Welcome to Way2B TV, where there's a better way to be than atheist or theist. My name is Elise Elrod. It is Thursday, April 7th, 2016. So let's talk about presup apologetics in general. I've listened to many presups make their case with flustered listeners on YouTube. Christian pastors, atheists, theists, research, and Bible PhDs, and the like have struggled and squirmed through many sessions with presups. Just use YouTube's search engine and you'll find oodles of video. This is not new. The presup often begins with asking, can you be wrong about anything? You, being a humble sort, theist or atheist, might respond, of course, I can always be wrong. Then the presup will turn to ask your basis for truth. No matter what your answer is, the presup will say in some fashion, you just said you could be wrong about that. As the conversation progresses, the presup will get in the opening major premise for his argument. And here is where the presup has my attention. The presup argument is helpful in thinking about the source of knowledge. One might consider that the development of truth, reason, and logic, that is, knowledge, is not simply a product of nature. So what then is the source of knowledge? It is a philosophical question the presup loves, and indeed worth pondering. Is there a source, a force if you will, beyond science and beyond the laws of nature that establishes knowledge? Some might even refer to this source, or as a force, as a God, or even the God. Hence the opening major premise. Unless God exists, there is no basis for knowledge. Therefore, one who claims there is no God would have no basis for the source of their own expressed truth. One might call that force God, and you might see that force as a supernatural source. Soon the opening major premise gets stated again and again and again. Then it changes just a little bit. A new version is introduced, usually without notice. The original premise, unless God exists, there is no basis for knowledge, becomes something similar to, unless the Christian God, as explained and described, exists, there is no basis for knowledge, truth, reason, or logic. These two premises are interchangeably employed during the remainder of the conversation. From this point, one can bring to the conversation almost any subject: biblical inerrancy, omniscience, omnipotence, textual criticism, heaven, hell, Christology, the church, and on and on and on. No matter the response from the presup's audience, the presup simply retorts, but you might be wrong about that. Or, how do you know, since you have no basis to claim that you know anything? Do you see the switch between premises? Are you there, Duncan?
I am here. Good evening.
All right, I hear
Duncan.
you. What do you have to say? We're a fairly new program, so we're a little clumsy, and I'll just say you.
That's what Hangouts are about.
Yes, right. You are welcome, and I don't know if you're watching it on YouTube as well, but you are welcome, and we'd love to hear what you got to say. You said you had a question. You sent me a little pop-up note.
You seem to be really hung up on this agnostic label, okay? And I don't see Elise that way, as an agnostic. I see her as a free thinker, somebody that has her own opinions about things, but she knows that she doesn't know. That's one of the main things she told us in the beginning, is that the smartest thing that you can say is, I don't know. And anybody who says they do know.
Well, if you don't know anything, then why should anybody pay attention to what you say on the broadcast? And I don't mean any disrespect by that.
I certainly got your attention tonight.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you don't know anything, why should anybody pay attention to what you say?
I am sitting, to be honest with you, right now I'm getting a little amused because I am sitting here trying to figure out what in the world you think you're getting out of what you're doing right this minute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, other than sharing your own personal tastes and likes, are you saying anything beyond that?
To some people, yes.
The words of Jesus are a taste?
No, what I'm saying is if she admits that she can't know anything given her agnosticism, then when she speaks, she's just speaking about what she likes.
There you go with that agnostic thing again.
Yeah, do me a favor. Do me a favor and mark atheist, agnostic, and theist off the list.
Amen.
And for a few minutes, I know you're going to put them back on, but just for a few minutes, just knock them off the list.
Okay, that's fine.
And think about this yourself. If a person, this argument that you and I are having, they have every day for an hour, or every Sunday afternoon for an hour on Atheist Experience TV show. And on that show, the theists call in and do what you're doing. And they have people who are pretty good at philosophy and that sort of thing, who argue back with them related to philosophical concepts and so forth. And that's fine. My point of view is simply that someone who believes in the supernatural, which you do, and someone who does not believe in the supernatural, which I don't, okay, can neither one of us prove the supernatural or disprove the supernatural to the other. Because I want evidence, and you don't.
Okay, good. In your worldview, can anything be proven?
If I have an ancient text and it's been carbon dated and it's been analyzed by people who are skilled and trained in analyzing the handwriting of that stuff and analyzing the material it's written on and so forth, and they come to the conclusion this is a 2nd century manuscript or this is a 1st century manuscript, and then those things are compared with each other and compared with our own Christian texts. Yes, that's information that's worth knowing and worth talking about, and it's real. The stuff that you're talking about is whether or not you can define truth, whether or not you can define reality. No, I cannot define truth or reality or anything else that's philosophical.
So in your worldview, you believe that some things can be proven, right?
Okay, I'm not going to do the quiz. Is that what you think? Are you?
Well,
yes?
you brought up the issue of proof.
Make your case. Make your point.
Well, if you can't know anything, how can anything be proven? You said you can't know anything.
Neither can you.
Tell me what it is you know.
What do I know? Well, you see, I don't have the same worldview that you do. I presuppose that the Christian God exists as he is defined and described, and he has constructed the world in such a way that we can know some things. But you okay, well, I know what the Christian God has designed us to know, that he exists and that he has created the world.
How?
But you don't accept that worldview. Because he has providentially created the world in such a way that we can know things. That is my presupposition.
How do you know that?
Yeah, how do you know? You want us to do the how you know for you? I think that's a good idea.
The answer is this. Either there's self-authentication, or there would be an infinite regress. Now, do you accept that if the Christian God exists, and he well, why are you going to let me finish? You asked me a question. I'm trying to answer you. If the Christian God exists and he cannot lie, and he speaks that he has made us to know things, that would be a form of what is called self-authentication if he cannot lie. Now, do you believe that self-authentication is possible at all?
How do you know the Christian God exists?
Because without the Christian God, then nothing can be known.
Hello.
According to you.
I think we're going around in circles here. So
yeah, I mean, what you're saying is Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs and
that's not what I'm saying.
And all those individuals that don't know anything.
No, you misunderstood me.
They don't have the Christian God.
Let me clarify something. What I did not say is one must believe in the Christian God in order to know something. I didn't say that. I said in order to know something, the Christian God would have to exist as he is defined and described, and having constructed a world where we would have the foundation by which we can make intelligible sense of some things in reality. You don't necessarily have to believe.
How do you know that?
Because God revealed.
Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute, y'all. This is a. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All y'all, stop. My show. Stop. Everybody, stop. Okay. This is an open mic show, by the way. We don't talk to people one at a time. We let them all talk, which is something nobody else does. But at any rate, here's the thing. You're making the case that the Christian God, in order for there to be any truth, anything can be known, there must be a Christian God as he is defined and described. Now you were running by that phrase like a freight train.
That's right.
Because the only place you can claim to know how he's defined and described is by your own interpretation of a book you claim is inerrant. Now, when you get that far into it, you realize this is a pointless conversation.
Why is it pointless?
Because you can't prove it to me, and I'm absolutely certain that, or as certain as a human being can be, that the Bible is not inerrant, infallible, and so forth.
Okay, good. Tell me how you can be certain of anything in your agnostic worldview. What would have to necessarily? What would have to necessarily? Well, can I finish, please? If you're
you can talk all night.
If you're going to be certain about anything in your worldview, because you basically on your pages here indicate that you're neither theist nor an atheist, that would put you in the agnostic camp. So how could you be certain about anything?
I can be as certain as a human being can be.
Okay, no, but what you're talking about then, I can't
be as certain as a supernatural God can be.
Okay, so what you're talking about is you have a probability guess. That's not certainty.
Well, you don't have certainty. You have faith.
Well,
okay. Hold on a second. Are you certain about that?
The nature of presupposition is to decide what is true, and having presupposed what is true, having presupposed what is true, then base all your arguments on that. It's just a circular mess, and it's really nothing that you can do with it.
Good. So you have basically admitted then all your views are a circular mess.
I don't presuppose.
I think perhaps maybe yours are. I'm sorry, I didn't mean disrespect, but I think we're going around and around, and we're not really coming to any conclusion or any kind of.
Well, how could you in your worldview? How could you come to any conclusion?
And you also keep saying, "Let me finish what I wanted to say," and you say the same thing over and over and over again.
Because it's not being addressed.
It's been addressed as much as it can be.
Well, there's a difference between somebody merely responding in words and actually specifically addressing the question. If you don't affirm that the Christian God exists and that he has constructed a world in such a way that we could know things, then on what basis in your worldview can you know something?
Because we're here.
Well, I have a degree in theology and from a seminary, and I also have a degree in engineering, and I practiced engineering for a long time. Now let me finish. And I practiced engineering for a long time, and so those are the things that I have knowledge about and feel like I have more credibility than most people who are in the population. You, on the other hand, I'm sure must really love philosophy, and if you aren't trained professionally in philosophy, you at least have a great love for it, and that's fine. I personally think philosophy doesn't do much more than reason out how reason is reasonable after all.
Okay, so you believe that matter is all that exists. So the thoughts in your head are just the result of your prior chemical and neurological states? So if that's the case, and it's nothing more than just materiality, then how can you trust the thoughts in your brain? Why would they have any more truth value than opening up a soda can and it fizzes?
What?
You didn't understand that. Okay, good. If matter is all that exists, and you're just a product of millions of years of evolution, and that your thoughts are just your brain states, then your brain states are just the result of prior chemical neurological states. How can you freely reason if your brain states are just the byproduct of prior chemical states?
Well, Duncan, I think you're going more towards the scientific, and we're still looking at the Bible, we're looking at Jesus, but we're looking at Jesus' contiguous line of thought. And so we're looking at the way to be and what he taught us as to be, human beings and to be content in life. And so we're going down a scientific point of view, which is really not what we're really addressing here. I understand, I hear what you're saying, but that's not really what we're talking about.
Amen.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. In your worldview, why would the words of any prophet, be that Jesus, Muhammad, the Buddha, why would what they say have any more truth value than a barking dog if matter is all that there is?
It would not be from anything found in ancient literature or in ancient centuries. What we read, just like any other thing that we might read, that we might think addresses our lives and how we interact with other folks and so forth, any of that can only be proven by a person testing it out in their own lives, and they discover whether or not it actually. Wait a minute, Duncan. Whoa, and they figure out then in their own lives whether or not they see themselves as being benefited by that, and they see themselves as being able to live in community with other people better by going by that. So the thing is about it is, you can philosophize all you want to and try to define all the great questions of the truth and reality and what is material and what is perceived, what is imaginary. Are you a brain in a vat? And all of these things that people love to talk about, but that's just not where we are.
Okay, so all you're just doing is talking about your feelings.
We may be, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, you keep on talking about things that could be proven, but earlier you said that you couldn't prove anything. So which is it?
Well, I guess I'm just wrong, and I'm going to continue to talk about my feelings with these people.
I didn't say you were wrong. I said you presuppose that some things could be proven. But earlier, when I asked you, can you prove anything, and you said no.
I always end these conversations by saying that you're right. You know you're right. And
well, I didn't assert that I was right. I asked you questions.
And you'll always know you're right.
That's right.
No, I didn't say I was right. I simply said, how can you make any statements that have truth value given your worldview? It's a question. I didn't say I was right.
You don't know her whole worldview, okay? You're taking her and putting her in a little teeny capsule labeled agnostic, and you think you know everything about her? Trust me, you don't.
Well, she said on the YouTube page that she believes that matter is all that there is. That's a significant amount of information on her worldview. If matter is all that there is, and your thinking or your brain states are just molecules in motion, how can you know anything? How do you know you're not just a programmed monkey that was programmed that way through millions of years of evolution?
Let me read the description on my About tab. Wait just a minute. Oh, y'all be quiet. Oh, y'all be quiet, because I want you to hear what he's referring to over and over. This is from my About tab on my YouTube page. Elise Elrod is neither atheist nor theist. She teaches audiences both live and on the internet a way to be content in life that requires no religion or supernatural belief. She involves herself in both theist and atheist publications and programs. She has a Master's of Divinity from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, and she was a licensed professional engineer with the majority of the state engineering boards in the U.S. Therefore, she has more than an average interest in science. She is arguably a scholar in the contiguous line of thought of an ancient speaker named Jesus. She does not believe in anything supernatural, yet she admires and tries to follow the way to be taught by, among others throughout history, the ancient speaker. Now, in that paragraph, I never mentioned matter at all.
If you believe that there's nothing supernatural...
Well, see, but you're translating and interpreting my words, making those actual facts, spitting them back at these people when I have not even said that to you in the very paragraph you referred to.
Okay, good. In addition to matter, what else would you believe exists, since you exclude...
No, don't change the subject. Tell me why you do not address what I said instead of...
I am addressing...
No, tell me in there where I speak of matter. Please tell me in that paragraph where I speak of matter.
Okay, well, when you say you don't believe in anything supernatural, what does that leave you with?
Tell me in that paragraph where I speak of matter.
The natural, it's there by default, unless there's a third type of substance.
So this is your worldview that you're explaining to me, and putting me in it, or it's a worldview that, wait a minute, or it's a worldview that you have a distaste for, that you are putting me in and trying to get me to defend. And I don't know of any way to do that. All I am telling you is I said what I meant, and that's all I said, and I don't need your interpretation.
Okay, very simply, in your worldview, there would be the natural and the possibly the supernatural, right? Would there be a possible third category?
Put no question marks on the end of your sentences. Say what you got to say.
Okay. So if you deny the supernatural, all you're left with is the natural. So by definition, by denying the supernatural, you are affirming materialism or naturalism.
Keep going.
Okay. If you only have two options, somebody's alive or dead, and you can exclude one, you're only left with one option. Okay. If you deny that there's any supernatural,
not necessarily.
Well, what would be the third option?
We don't know, and that's something we say a lot in this group and in this program. We don't know.
Well, yeah, you've already told us tonight that you really don't know anything.
Okay.
Okay.
You good?
I agree.
I'm not so sure I would agree with that statement. Sorry.
Okay, well, tell me what you know.
I know that we are a group that gathers together to talk about Jesus and the way that he taught us to live. And that's essentially what we're talking about. We also talk about other gospels that are out there, not a part of the inerrant Bible that others subscribe to. Just to understand what was going on at the time.
When you come to those conclusions, must the laws of logic be true in order for you to reach that conclusion?
I don't even attest to know the laws of logic at that time. I mean, we're talking about thousands of years ago, and the logic at that time certainly cannot be, no one can understand what the logic was at the time.
Okay, what I'm referring to,
tell me a little bit about yourself, Duncan. Tell me, because I'm enjoying this, quite frankly. But Duncan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me, are you trained in theology or in the Bible? Have you got degrees from seminaries or research institutions? Are you a minister, a pastor? You know, who are you, Duncan? Tell us who you are.
I'm somebody who's been studying the Bible for 20 years. Okay,
and in what form or fashion have you been studying it? As a layperson, as a minister?
Beyond that, I don't give out any personal information over the internet.
Okay, so you aren't credible at this point.
Why would I need to be credible?
Because you're not willing to yield your credentials.
Why would that make? Why would that make any questions that I propose to you invalid?
Well, what I'm saying to you, though, is I don't know where you're coming from.
That's called an appeal to authority.
Yeah, you do watch a lot of that stuff.
Well, he really didn't know what this show is about, does he?
Well, I know what it's about based upon what you told me, because you told me you really don't know anything, given your worldview.
There's a guy, Bruden K. You know Bruden K? The guy named Bruden K? A presuppositionalist, fundamentalist, evangelical Bruden K. You know him? Or who I'm talking about?
I don't know a Bruden K.
Right. He got on a radio program with a minister here in Florida. And
are you referring to Psi 10 Brudenkate?
Yeah, Brudenkate. That's his name. Right. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, you sound like him.
No. And
I'm just saying, is that somebody that you like to read and talk to? Is that somebody you like to read and understand and you agree with, or what?
No. I just know that if the Christian God exists as he is defined and described, then we can know things. If you deny that, you have no foundation by which you can actually reason, know things, or prove things. And you've already demonstrated that here tonight.
She doesn't say that there is no Christian God. She said that she doesn't believe in the supernatural, but she is also open because she knows that she doesn't know.
Okay, if there is no supernatural, then by default, that means the Christian God does not exist.
That's her belief. That is not what she teaches.
Good. Then she can't possibly believe in the Christian God if she doesn't believe in the supernatural.
Excuse me, I think a Christian God could do anything they wanted to, with or without supernatural.
This is actually the most fun I think I've had since we started this.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, because it's irritating the snot out of me.
Well, what you're hearing, I know it irritates you because you're such a good person. I mean, I know it because you be quiet, Duncan.
My baseline is life is to be here on this earth to help other people and to be who I'm supposed to be to other people, to help other people, and attacking them in any venue is against my nature.
Right. Yeah. Joni's worldview is very simple, as in most of the people on here. And what might surprise you is you're talking to a group of people right now, some of which believe in God, and some of which do not believe in God. You are talking to a group of people right now.
And who have been sorely mistreated by so-called Christians.
The one thing we have in common, and it's the only thing we have in common, is that we do think that Jesus was a teacher who gave the world something very important, and it got drowned by the supernatural to the point Christians have might near lost it altogether.
Okay, so, Jan, how did I mistreat you? Jan, how did I mistreat you?
No,
I'm talking to me. I'm Joni.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says Jan on the screen.
No, that's Jan. That's Jan on Hangouts.
I'm not on Hangouts. I'm on Skype.
Yeah.
Joni's okay. My apologies. Joni, how did I mistreat you?
By attacking someone that I know is a good person who would go bend over backwards to keep from hurting you in any way, and you're just talking about philosophical stuff that doesn't have any substance whatsoever, no matter what you think it does. Because the bottom line is, how do you treat other people, and how do you serve other people, and how do you tend to other people?
Did I say she was a bad person?
Don't sound like a kind person to me. You sound argumentative and full of debate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did I say she was a bad person?
You don't have to say it.
Well,
so because I asked you,
the truth is
protected.
You say that she's not credible.
Well, can I get in a word edgewise? So because I ask important questions about how you can know what you know, that means that I'm not being nice.
And we asked you, how do you know what you know?
I already answered that.
And no, you didn't.
Okay, well, I'll repeat what I said to you.
Okay.
The only way that I could know something is if the Christian God exists as he is defined and described. If you deny that, you have no basis upon which you can make an intelligible accounting of reality.
But how do you know that you know that you know that?
Because you sound like a text.
Wait, Joni.
The other kind of God doesn't have to have supernatural abilities or to use the supernatural to convince anybody of anything.
Let me call the names here for a few seconds so we can.
I just want to ask Joni.
Wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Just everybody, let me call the names so we can do that. Jan, when you get Joni stirred up, Joni and I have known each other for 45 years. There's another thing about Joni and I that probably would cause you probably an issue, given what you've told me about your position about theology, and that is that Joni and I have been married for 45 years. But at any rate, Jan, legally. What was you legally? Joni, Jan, what was you going to say? You started to say something, and we couldn't hear you over everything else.
Well, I was trying to say that, Duncan, you say that you know the Christian God, and I'm like, how do you know that you know that you know that you know that Christian God is the one that you know that everybody else may or may not know?
Right.
Well, the answer to that question is it would either have to be through some type of self-verification or an infinite regress of justification. Now, an infinite regress of justification is not possible. So the only way for us to have a foundation by which we can know something would be for something to be self-justifying or self-revealing. And the Christian God, who cannot lie when he speaks, is self-authenticating. If you reject that, then you are in no position to be able to know anything, because how would you be able to verify anything? If you deny but I'm not done yet. If you deny self-authentication on the part of the Christian God, then you would either have to believe that something else was self-authenticating, or that you had an infinite regress of justification which is untenable. So do you believe that something is self-authenticating?
I would ask the question as how do you self-authenticate the fact of a Christian God?
No, I don't self-authenticate. The Christian God, when he speaks, self-authenticates.
Oh,
if you deny that, can I finish? Okay, I won't be long, I promise. All right, I won't be long. If you deny that the Christian God can speak and speak in a self-authenticating way, then you're going to have to demonstrate that there's another means of self-authentication. If you deny that, then you have no foundation or basis by which you can know anything.
You sound like a textbook.
I think you say a lot of buzzwords, and it sounds like you study a lot, and I'm trying to figure out really the English behind what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So okay. How do you self-authenticate?
Well, let me illustrate it for you. Let's just presume, and I'll be brief. If this is irritating you, I'll be brief. I'll get off. It's not my intention to irritate you.
It's irritating to me. I'm having fun.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much. I respect it. Thank you so much.
Would it be the case that we can know some things that the Christian God exists? The answer is yes. Now, if you don't accept that, if you reject that, then by what means can you tell me you would be able to have the principles that would be necessary to make an intelligible sense of the world around you? How would you do that?
I wouldn't. I don't reject God.
I don't either.
Okay, well, is it any God or is it the Christian God?
No, I don't reject the Christian God. I am a Christian.
Then you should accept what I'm saying then.
I personally think they're all the same.
I'm sorry, I don't accept what you're saying, because you are talking about supernatural things, and I don't believe that I need to have a supernatural God to really believe in a God.
Well, then you don't believe in the Christian God, because
I do believe in a Christian God.
Well, hold on, may I finish?
God isn't supernatural. That's all.
Okay, good. Well, in the Bible, the Christian God is defined as supernatural. If you deny that God is supernatural, then you do not believe in the Christian God as the Christian God is defined.
No, the Bible describes the Christian God as supernatural. And the Bible, I don't believe the Bible is inerrant. The Bible is the one that says it's a Christian God.
Good.
And, you're talking about mostly the stuff that is not what Jesus was talking about.
Right.
Okay, good. If you don't believe that the Bible is inerrant, then tell me, how do you determine what is true in the Bible?
What works?
That's called pragmatism. Hitler did that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
The cheapest argument alive is when you revolt.
No.
When you go to Hitler.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Excuse me. Do you know Mr. Trump?
That's called pragmatism. Okay, that's called pragmatism. What works?
Yeah.
What works isn't what's true.
What works is what Jesus is saying, and what Buddhist, Buddhist says, and all those other prophets. That's what we're really talking about.
We're not talking about believing in supernatural things like either healing the dead or making a donkey fly. I don't know, different things that you could do. That's not what we talk about. Okay. What we talk about is what is in the Bible that Jesus supposedly said. All we can do is believe that he did say that, and it makes sense, and there's a lot of thought there that is valuable, and that's what we deal with. I don't want to be labeled. I don't want to be, I have terms thrown at me, like whatever that term was, privatization or whatever, because it really doesn't mean anything to me, okay? That's not why I'm here. If I wanted that, I'd go to an atheist or a theist talk show and argue with them.
Well, the bottom line here is all you're left is just your feelings.
No, I would disagree with that, because really the Bible does have some good stuff in it. Mm-hmm. If you remove the supernatural stuff, there's a lot to be gained by the Bible.
Okay, good. If there's no supernatural, then what is your standard for what is good?
Anything
now you're moving to this idea that there is no morality without the supernatural. That without God, there can be no morality. For instance,
I didn't say that.
But that's what you're saying. How do you know what's good?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
The atheists. Are there atheists Are there moral, good atheists who live their lives to benefit
That's not
other
what I
people?
said.
No, I'm asking you a question. Are there atheists who live their lives to benefit other people, have no belief in God? They live their lives to help other people. They are good, kind individuals. They live in community with other people without being this anxious presence, without being a non-anxious presence, by being someone who actually listens to them and talks to them and helps them and advises them and gives them a leg up here and there. In other words, are there atheists who are better Christians than most Christians?
Amen.
You can't. An atheist can't be a Christian by definition.
You and your definitions.
That's cute, but I mean yeah, we're running. We've run way over the end of the show, and I don't mind that. And I think it's been. Would you like to come back on next week?
Is this on at the same time?
Yeah.
Are you going to say the same thing?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but
Sure.
and I don't mind that. We may have to limit the total amount of time that you have, but we don't mind talking to you. Honestly, we don't. But here's the thing. Some of the others are going to have to be able to talk too. But here's the thing. We're just trying our best here to talk about what may be gleaned from the Christian religion, what may be gleaned from the writings in the Bible, what may be gleaned from the stories about Jesus. Let me finish. What may be gleaned from the stories of Jesus that would help us in our lives and make us more at peace and more able to live in community with other people. We are not trying to figure out what is truth. We're not trying to figure out what is real and unreal. We are not trying to figure out some kind of presuppositional thing. And I have as much right to say that even though I say there is a better way to be than atheist or theist, and tonight has made me more sure of it than ever. Because we cannot spend our lives like we just spent it for the last hour every day, all day.
Well, you don't believe in the Christian religion because the Christian religion presupposes the supernatural.
Right.
You reject the supernatural, therefore you don't hold to the Christian religion.
Are you speaking to my motives, or do you happen to know actually who I am?
No, I'm not questioning your motives.
Okay, so are you speaking, and you somehow have some great insight into my inward being? What?
No, I'm not criticizing you. I'm not questioning your motives. I think you're very nice. You've been very nice to me here tonight, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to remain that way. But what my point is, don't tell me who I am because you don't know.
That's right.
No, I didn't tell you who you are. What I said was, if one denies and rejects the supernatural, then you cannot believe and hold to the Christian religion, because the Christian religion presupposes the supernatural by definition.
Well, let me explain.
Are you talking about accepting the whole package?
No, wait a minute, Carol. I know that we don't.
Go ahead.
Most of us don't. Even most Christians don't believe in the talking snake and the magic apple. But anyway, listen for a minute. I pastored 4 churches, and I can tell you.
What did you say about the apple?
the magic apple and the talking snake.
Are you talking about the magic apple in Genesis?
Yes.
Well, if you have a theological degree, you really don't know your Bible very well because the fruit is not mentioned.
Oh,
fine, but the Christian religion. Let me finish what I was saying. You get everybody. You know what? You're a person who argues by distraction. The fact is, I pastored 4 churches, and I can tell you for certain that there are people in the Christian churches, and most of the Christian churches that I pastored, and I pastored Southern Baptist churches, but in the churches that I pastored, there were people who believed to themselves to be Christians because they followed Jesus, but they would in no way in this world would ever believe that he walked on water. There are people who believe they believe that Jesus was a human being, but he was not divine. But they believe
That's not
themselves.
The Christian religion.
They believe them. It doesn't matter how you define it. That's the way they define it. Listen to me now.
I know that. Okay, good, okay? But that's not the Christian religion. And I know
that disappoints a lot of you. But the point is, once you understand what
disappointing.
Once you understand, you need to understand what the population actually looks like. And there are millions of people who don't discount what Jesus taught us, but at the same time do not believe in supernatural things. There's millions of people like that in America. So there's no
okay,
there's no
don't
reason.
Call it Christian now, because it's not.
No, they can call themselves Christian if they want to.
If you don't,
Okay, guys, we have just hit the 2-hour mark for a 1-hour show. And so don't go away, Duncan, and do come back next week.
Thank you for dialoguing with me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, enjoyed it so much. Please come back.
The precept argument is generally a response to non-believers, though millions of believers and non-believers disagree with the precepts. The precept asserts a non-believer cannot claim to know anything if the non-believer is also right in thinking a God does not exist. The constantly repeated responses like "how do you know?" or "you could be wrong" in response to every claim of knowledge by a non-believer is simply a tactic that distracts the precept's opponent. In the confusion and frustration, it is easy to overlook what has happened to the major premise. When it graduates to supernatural knowledge passed down only to the elect of a God, one enters the evidentiary world. The precept apologetic claims God exists as described and explained in the Bible. We are now down to human knowledge and physical evidence. While one might call the force that generates knowledge a generic God, how can one be certain that man's interpretation of what he claims a God told him to write down is accurate? The precept insists God has revealed knowledge whenever God speaks. God speaks in his word, the Bible. How do we know the Bible speaks for God? God says so. Where? In the Bible. But I guess the precept could be wrong about that. May the force be with you. Thanks for watching and being a part of Way to Be TV, where there's a better way to be than atheist or theist.